Take your time. Take a breath.
Welcome back to the Marathon Mortgage Happy Hour. My name is Rory Farrell,
I'm Mike Witzak.
and we have a special guest here, as usual.
Yes, sir.
Please introduce yourself, sir.
Pat McGowan with Keller Williams Real Estate in Bluebell and part of the collective team.
Well, yeah, that was perfect. We didn't have to prompt you on what team you were on or anything. You just
There you
nailed
go.
it.
Normally people just go, Pat McGowan.
Yeah.
And we're like, what team are you with?
Moving
Or
on.
little-
Little
Where do you
context
work?
there.
Are you even in real estate?
Exactly. Perfect.
Thank you for coming in.
pleasure. Thank you
we're
for
chipping
having me.
away at your team. You know, we're getting everyone on. There's a couple
I
holdouts.
was going to say, yeah, we're well represented.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
as you should be. Yeah, we've known you guys for a long time.
Long
So
time.
I've been with Tom at Marathon Mortgage for almost 9 years now.
Yeah.
And you guys were there
Oh yeah,
well before that.
definitely.
So
Nice.
It's been a while.
a couple iterations and team changes
Yep,
and
yep,
you know,
but
staff changes and
Nice long relationship
yeah,
with you
it's
guys.
cool.
So
It's
it's
we
been
love
great.
working with you guys. You guys do things the right way and you communicate and all that. So
same.
Yeah. So I think this is actually the first podcast where all drinking different
yeah,
things.
let's get into it. I'm
drinking
still
different.
in January, so I'm doing my Free Wave Hazy IPA from Athletic Brewing. It's a non-alcoholic.
All right, you're going dry January.
These two degenerates did not want to have non-alcoholic drinks.
Did
with
not.
me.
Absolutely
I never
not.
made a dry January pact, so Mike and I are together.
I did, and I got about 11 days in. Somebody said, "Hey, want a beer?" And I said, "Yes." So that fell through very quickly. So
Pat, what are you drinking?
I am drinking Guinness. Shocker for a McGowan. I'm drinking Guinness. So,
Yep, Patrick
I guess
McGowan.
am I going to have like the Guinness mustache here on?
That'd be cool.
yeah,
Okay,
do it.
yeah.
Go for
It's
it.
not marked, but it is a perfect day for a Guinness type beer. It is.
It is
the coldest day of the
I
year
think
so
it's
far.
like 10 degrees out. Yeah.
You know what? It's
At
not a
best.
perfect day for a soju, but
That's been in our fridge for months.
yeah, this has been in our fridge for way too long, and nobody's drank it or touched it. So I'm gonna have some of it.
And why don't you explain
right
what
before we
soju
went
is?
on, I was going to say Mike was giving me the lowdown on this stuff.
Yeah, I'm. So the writing on this is Korean. I'm pretty sure is soju Korean or Japanese? Because sake is Japanese.
I don't know.
I think soju. I don't know if it's Korean. It's an Asian rice wine, so it's a 13% alcohol in this thing. They're typically like really sweet. They come in a bunch of different flavors. You can get them plain. I've never had it plain, but I
gross.
can't imagine it tastes good. Yeah, and it's just clear and looks like this.
Well, if you know what
So
soju
do we
is,
just,
right in.
do we say cheers and we
Cheers.
just leave Rory out since
All right,
he's
that's
not
fine.
an alcoholic?
No. Come on,
Good,
cheers.
cheers.
Cheers. It's
Thank
not
you for
water.
coming on, Pat. I'll tell you what.
I
Every
will say
January,
Mike's outclassing us though, because like you've got non-alcoholic beer. I've got the Guinness, but he had to go like wine.
Yeah, I got it.
Wine.
This is like
he's overcompensating.
I'm not really overcompensating. This is like a children's like drink. It's like what college kids drink.
He
So
had 17 Guinnesses this weekend, so he couldn't stomach another one.
yeah, no, I was okay without that. Rory did, proud sponsor of Athletic is Matt Frazier, and Rory just got a CrossFit award this morning. So Rory thinks he's Matt Frazier in the house, baby.
All right. Congrats.
But
Yeah, no.
no. Anyway,
Cut that.
enough
And-
about Rory. No, that's staying in, baby. Enough about Rory. Let's talk about you, Pat.
Yeah.
Sure.
Usually where we start this is where'd you start? How'd you start? Why'd you get into it? And then it just kind of meanders. We'll
All
talk
right.
like friends, like
We'll
we're at
meander
happy
from
hour.
there.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. So, starting my 21st year, hard to believe.
You.
Yeah. So,
You've done it almost as long as Mike's been alive.
I was just about to say I got 4 years of life on you, dude.
I have another story to tell later that really made me feel old this last week and a half. But anyway, 21st year, was in college athletics before. Worked in marketing and promotions
Okay.
for about 6 years out of college. And then that's when I was working at Villanova. Met up with Mike Merton. Mike and I worked together actually for 2 or 3 years at Villanova.
No, I didn't
Who
know that.
Now leads our team. Yep.
That's what sounds so familiar because Mike was into college athletics too, right?
He was.
Okay.
He was.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Mike and I worked at Villanova together.
Oh, that's funny.
And then Mike is actually cousins with Jeff Silva.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So Jeff and I went to high school together up the road at LaSalle.
Oh wow.
So we got
All coming
reconnected.
together.
And yeah, I'd always kind of been interested in real estate. The market was obviously going gangbusters then. Unfortunately, for those that out there that don't know, college athletics doesn't pay high wages. Salaries were not great. I think when I left Villanova, I was making maybe like $30,000 to $35,000 a year. It was
Oh, wow. That
a
was
lot of
21
work
years
for.
ago. It was a long time
It was
ago.
a long time ago. A long time ago. But so then I took the plunge and kind of went right into it. So
yeah. I guess all college athletics doesn't pay that well because I always think like oh, James Franklin makes $10 million a year, like to be a coach, but I'm assuming like if you're not James Franklin and you're just a coach of
Correct.
like a baseball team, it doesn't pay nearly as well.
Nearly
not
as
even
well.
close.
They're getting the big paycheck.
Yeah.
So were you and Michael connected to Villanova prior to working there, or was that just the job that you
we
happened to
met
get?
there. Yeah.
Okay.
No, we met there. Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
So you're local guy.
So local guy, went to LaSalle High School.
Where'd you grow up?
Temple, Elkins Park.
Oh, really close. Yeah.
Yeah, not far at all, down the road.
Yeah.
I saw you make a post the other day about your family being in Fishtown and like going back to the old
Fishtown,
neighborhood.
Yes, so that's the one that makes me feel real old. So one of my great friends from LaSalle, his daughter, his oldest daughter, she's like in her mid-20s, just bought her first house. And I was just like, oh my God, like I'm now like in that next phase of selling my friends' kids' houses.
Houses in Fishtown. It's way
so
cooler now than when you guys were there back in the day.
Way cooler now. It's so much like, but the cool thing was the house and where we did the closing were literally around the block from where my dad and all my aunts and uncles grew up in Fishtown,
cool.
like back
That's
in the
funny.
40s, 50s, 60s. So, and I'll tell him the stories like, Dad, like you wouldn't believe it. Like Fishtown, like, houses go for like $800, $900, $1 million down there. He's like, you got to be kidding.
Yeah, no way.
And I took him down there once just to see, and he's like, this is so different.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
When I grew up.
My parents said they always used to say, because my family's from Port Richmond, so they were
Okay,
always like, they're like, you couldn't give away a home in Fishtown
No.
when we were growing up.
No.
And now it's like, you can't touch a home in Fishtown because of how expensive
Exactly.
it is.
It's unbelievable. The amount of like just development. They've torn stuff down, built new, all the restaurants and,
Yeah.
all that type of stuff. It's amazing down there now.
I'm wondering, and maybe you have a thought on this. When do you think Kensington will turn around? If and when?
I kind of feel like I feel like it already sort of has, but I feel like it's still fringy, like it's still pushing north, right?
It's definitely like happening.
It is happening.
As we're talking, it's happening for sure.
I feel like it's not as quick as like Northern Liberties and Fishtown were.
Fishtown,
They just really started.
yeah, it was 10 years and it was just a totally different thing. But I think, the past 5 years, Kensington's started to make changes. I feel like it got really, really bad during COVID, and that kind of paused a lot of the
a little bit,
the rehab of it. But
Yep.
there's like big apartment complexes going up over there now.
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on,
Yeah.
so.
For sure.
I love you realtors are so good at marketing. You're like, you're always saying it's like outer Fishtown or something. You're like, you look at the map.
My
like,
favorite is
"Come on, man."
the
That's
one
Kensington.
some people referring to old
Kensington.
with the E,
Yeah,
OLDE.
Real
Yeah, like to
fancy.
make it like feel like real like colonial, like
Yeah.
oh, it's old Kensington.
It's old Kensington,
It's like,
yeah.
it's just Kensington.
It's
It's funny when I moved to California, it was pre when Fishtown was probably doing when it started doing what it's doing, and I moved back 10 years later, and I was down in Philly, and I'm in Fishtown. I'm like, this feels like San Francisco. Like it was that, like it had that vibe of like very cool, hip,
And I think
San Francisco.
another thing people forget about Kensington too is that, a little history of Philadelphia. But again, when my parents were growing up, it was never like a great place to live. It was always like still a little sketchy here and there. But there was like shopping malls on the. It was a very big like strip mall area. You could walk down, and they go shopping there. So I'm sure that was in the probably like mid 70s, late 70s into the 80s, and then it has become the Kensington we know. So I'm sure it's probably right around that time where it's going to start trying to go back to the way it was before. So there's a lot of potential.
There's still a vibrant market there. You just haven't
It
been
is
able to buy
vibrant.
heroin.
It is interesting because, well, like Mike said, like when my family was living down there, my dad's family, I mean, it was essentially Irish and Polish, blue collar, like gritty. Like it was not what it is.
That's
now.
a great word to put. Yeah, like it wasn't like a sketchy place. It was just gritty. Like there's a lot of
it was
grit
just
in that area.
it
Yeah,
was
little
a
dirt on
gritty neighborhood. It was, it was working class, and now it's, again, you've got a lot of like young professionals. I mean, paying big bucks to live there. I mean, you have Steven Starr opening restaurants there. You've hit the trendy neighborhood when Steven Starr is opening restaurants in your neighborhood.
And that's like my dad always said, if you heard somebody was from K&A or from Rising Sun, the Boulevard, like that was like, you didn't want to mess with those people. You just kind of stay away from them because they beat the hell out of you. But there's like, now it's like a totally different,
Exactly.
All right, let's get back on track here.
Yes.
All right, so you met Michael at Villanova. You guys were living paycheck to paycheck, marketing
for
their
sure.
sports.
For sure.
And you're like, we're going to make the big bucks.
Yes, we're going to make the big bucks. Yes, I remember.
How's it working out?
So when I first came into the business, I was a Coldwell banker over in East Narton. It wasn't really a team yet. It was so Jeff, his wife Joanne, myself, And, Jeff and our broker, Michael Corcus, kind of mentored me. But I was saying to Mike before we came on, like, I remember my first day, I just left my, getting paid a solid paycheck every 2 weeks to go into this commission-based business. And it's like the first several weeks, it's like, here's your desk, here's the phone.
Get out there.
Good luck. Like, start making phone calls. And I was just like, holy shit, what have I gotten myself into? But you figure it out, you learn. We got into some good sales training, and it's been good.
Such a different thing back then too, because you just think about like how, like, I feel overwhelmed with all the different ways to work now. So it's like social media, it's text, emails, DM. It's like there's just so much going on right now. It's like a simpler time back then. It's like you literally.
It's
you
crazy.
sit and you make phone calls.
We literally made phone calls. The MLS now, I think, allows us on a listing to have like up to 25. Well, actually, that's not even true anymore. It's almost unlimited photos. When I first started, you could put 7 photos on the MLS.
Wow.
As far as like showing homes, printed out all your MLS sheets. Printed out like MapQuest.
I was to say,
there was no
there.
GPS in your car.
Yeah.
So it was like I was literally in the car. You're driving MapQuesting from house to house to house.
God
to show
forbid there's a
properties.
detour.
And now it's just like, okay, let me, I have my iPad. I've got everything there, and I'll hit Waze, and it gets me from house to house. My clients have, their GPS, so I don't have to like give them a printed out sheet of like directions to get from the houses. So it's totally nuts.
I just missed the tail end of that. I do remember my dad made me print out MapQuest when I was like 9 or 10 because he didn't know how to work the computer. And he'd set his odometer to like 0.
Exactly.
He'd be like,
0.1 mile.
All right, 7 miles, and then we'll make a right.
Yeah. We actually, it's funny now to look back. The first several years I was in the business, there was no such thing as DocuSign. Like, you didn't have electronic signatures.
No.
You met with the client, hand signed everything, made copies. You had to deliver a manila folder like with your entire offer packet to the listing brokerage's office. If they weren't, if it was after
the office.
Oh, if it was after hours, you put it in like the overnight drop box. Like it was. Oh yeah. We're spoiled now with the amount of technology that we have with the with all the electronic signature programs and everything. I wish I had bought stock years ago in DocuSign. Like who knew?
Yeah, I wish I bought Bitcoin years ago too. Yeah.
Right. GameStop.
Yeah. Oh yeah, all of it.
Kelly and I were just talking about when we drove across country to move to California. When we moved her to California, that was in like 09 or 08, something like that. 09. I was like, how did we do that? Because you didn't have iPhones with maps on there.
Yeah.
But there's no way we printed out MapQuest 3,000 miles ago. And I think what we came up with, I think they used to have those little like
the little GPS,
like the little GPS things that you could like plug into your phone.
Oh my God,
I think that was that year,
yes.
that era of technology.
Yep.
We must have done that, but
yeah, we had one of them too.
You had to like pre-download your routes and stuff. Like, God forbid you had to like pivot in the middle.
Yep.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, no updated routes too. Like if you hit traffic, you're screwed. Like
exactly.
I can't. Yeah.
Wow.
They wouldn't warn you that there was a cop up ahead or whatever.
Yeah, no, technology is just gone crazy in 10 years, but that's a whole nother podcast.
Oh, yeah.
So Coldwell Banker, and how long were you there for?
Coldwell Banker, I was there for about 2.5 years. And then just with life circumstances, and I was living in the city, left there, went to Coldwell Banker down in Old City at 2nd and Market. We were right near the Continental down there. Great time, learned a lot, great colleagues there, made a bunch of friends that I'm still close with today. But then with my wife's job, she was commuting every day. It was like just a hellish commute on the Schuylkill Expressway out to like Chester Springs. Mm-hmm. So we were just making the decision. I think it's time that we love living in Center City, but it's time for us to maybe look at something a little bit closer. And at that point, we then moved to Conshohocken, and I rejoined up with Jeff at Keller Williams, and
what
been
year
there
was
ever
that?
since. That was 2012. 2012 is when I went back out there. Yeah.
Just trying to think. When did I 20? All right, I'm just trying to think like when, because when I met you guys, you were in Conchi, like off that like First Ave office. Like that,
we were in our own
the ninth
kind of
floor or something.
Yeah.
Was that same place, or were you somewhere different?
We were in First Avenue.
Yeah.
Were you in that office?
Yeah.
The one that's now been torn down into that huge
exactly
building? Yeah. So
that's
were
where
there,
you were
and
with
then
the
we
Home
moved to
Experts
6th.
team as well. You guys kind of shared that office.
Yeah, with Mike and Matt and their team. Yeah.
Was Soroka also connected to that Coldwell Banker time of your life? Because I feel like he worked at a Coldwell Banker.
He
I think
did.
they both did
No,
around
actually,
that same time.
Yes. So I was with Coldwell Banker Preferred in Old City. Mike Soroka, Jeremy Bowers, who's Keller Williams. Those guys were with Coldwell Banker Preferred in the Conshohocken office. So we were all part of the same company. We were just at different offices.
Yep.
So known those guys for
Time
a long
flies.
time.
Time
Long
flies,
time.
man.
Mike Soroka, past guest.
Yes.
Been on.
Great
Yep.
guy. Great guy.
All right, cool. So then
And Donnelly, I mean,
he's
He's all right.
He's also a past
He's all
guest, but we felt
Love you, Matt.
we felt obligated to bring him on because we had Soroka on. It's
There
kind
you
of a
go.
package
There
deal.
you go. Package deal. That is true. That's true.
That's actually another podcast I often forget about because he got me so messed up on that podcast too.
If you can imagine, Matt
Shocker.
had some
Shocker.
extra drinks.
I'm not
brought
sure if
one
I've
drink.
ever really hung out with Matt where we haven't had alcohol involved.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know,
He's-
unless we were at some business workship thing where we actually were,
and even then,
being
it's still a
professional.
great time. He might as well have been
100%.
drinking. Late for the party.
Exactly.
So obviously now with the collective, what are you excited about for 2025? Like, what do you see happening?
2025, I am excited because I think as much as we have gotten concerned over the last year and a half that things are slowing down, there's no inventory. We were just talking about this on our sales call the other day. It's really just the velocity of the inventory in the market. It's like that moment in time. Like, okay, like right now I could have a client who's looking in an area and it's like, God, they're like 2 or 3 houses, like if that, and they're gone in like 72 hours.
Yeah.
But when you like look at it, or if you do a look back, it's like, well, as long as you hang in, like homes are going to come along,
Right. Yeah.
and you're going to have opportunities. So I think that's just going to continue this year. I think people are finally, we were just talking about it right beforehand before we got started here. People trying to time the market, it's almost impossible anymore because the rates are kind of, you guys know, I mean, they're kind of hanging around in the upper 6s, but home prices aren't staying plateaued. They're still going up. So for people to say, hey, I'm going to time the market right, like you're never going to know when the right time is. It's almost just, if you want to buy, you should be buying now because the prices are only increasing at the moment.
Yep.
You can always buy now and refi later, right? With Marathon Mortgage.
Thank you.
Refi later into a lower rate. But that's, the prices aren't going down. They're not holding steady. They're still increasing.
Yeah.
So I think that's the kind of misnomer that people are, I'll wait. Well, the longer they wait, we were talking about this earlier, the prices are still ticking up.
Yeah.
So you are affecting your bottom line by waiting. So
Even if rates go down 0.5%, it's like if prices continue to go up and your rates come down 0.5%, you're probably just canceling yourself out.
Yeah.
Like that's all you're doing.
it becomes a wash.
Yeah,
almost.
you're going to need the rates to come down dramatically, and if that happens, then people are going to flood the market again. And it's just going to be a whole bidding war.
Exactly.
Yeah,
No one's got a crystal ball, but if you look at any of the experts' predictions on what's going to happen in 2025, they're saying, 6, 6.25, 6.5 is kind of where we're at, which is, down from where we're at now.
Now I'll tell you what though. One thing I've learned is to not trust the experts.
That's why I put the caveat
Ever.
up front. No one's got a
Ever.
crystal ball.
Yeah, no one's got a crystal ball. But like what I have to say is, if the experts are saying that, maybe it means we're going to get really low rates.
Maybe.
You
Who
don't
knows?
know.
I hope
Maybe.
so.
We'll see.
That would be
That's the whole
hilarious.
That kind of just reinforced the point of you can't predict it. You can't
Well, it's
play the
true.
market.
And,
You can't wait for
like,
it to improve.
Like Mike said, it's, obviously people ask you guys all the time. They ask me all the time, like, oh, what do you think is going to happen with the rates and da-da-da-da. And it's, like Mike had alluded to, like all the experts, people that are certainly smarter than the three of us, these economists that, study the markets and
Their
all
job
that.
day in and day
they've
out.
been saying for what, like a year and a half, the Fed's going to do a rate cut. It's going to affect, and then the Fed cut rates and nothing happened. And then the
Or
Fed
rates
cut
went
rates
up.
again, where they went up.
Yep.
So it's, it's hard to predict.
Yeah. Yeah. Those people, I mean, they were saying like, last year they were like, or no, 2023, December 2023, they were saying, first quarter this year, rates are going to be high 5s, mid 5s. We're going to be cruising.
Get ready.
And I remember looking at Tom and going like, nah.
Yeah.
And I did say, I was like, third quarter, maybe something happens, maybe it doesn't, but I was like, that'll be it. And the third quarter rates came down a little bit.
In September.
And then, and then
October.
they went back up, and now we're just cruising here. And I think everybody's finally been like, all right, maybe nothing will happen.
I love how he just slipped in tooting his own horn that he guessed.
You saw
right.
that? You saw
did.
that, right?
He
You saw
did.
that, right?
What did I say?
He's allowed. He's a co-host. He's allowed to toot his own horn. But it's true because you have, I feel like the
Good catch.
want to buyers
Yep.
are sort of starting to come back into the market. I mean, you're always going to have, that's the beauty of real estate. You're always going to have the need to buyers. And what I mean by that is, as you guys know, life changes.
Yep.
You know, people are always getting married. People are always having children. People are having job changes. You know, unfortunately, there's like, you know, death, divorce, things like that.
Yep.
There's always going to be those things that are going to cause people to need to move.
Sure.
So that's always there. But I do think, like, I have some clients now, it's like, you know, we've kind of, we're going to try and play the game, see what happens with the market.
Yep.
And they see, like, they can't time the market, like we were just talking about. So I see some people starting to get off the fence, like, you know what? If we're going to do this, we might as well just do it, because I don't think there is going to be that perfect time to pull the trigger. So,
No.
you know, and again, on the other side for sellers, I mean, my gosh, the tables have been tilted to the sellers for so long now. It's, you know, they're spoiled, but, you know, hopefully if we can get back to some semblance of a balanced market, I mean, you know, it'd be nice for the buyers to.
Yeah, really. And even if a seller, I mean, look, it might be in the seller's favor, but most of the time they're buyers then. So it's
True.
like
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
They're getting screwed over.
Double-edged sword.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, it is. I mean, it's interesting. Off air, we were talking about you saying that you felt like it was getting back to quote unquote like a normal cyclical market with buyers and, you know, inventory coming on. And I'm really hoping that's the case, because the past couple of years we just haven't had that, between COVID and everyone waiting around for the Fed to lower rates, and then people have just been waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. Yeah. And I am also feeling that same way, where it's like, all right, we had a very slow, you know, December, January, but things are already starting to pick up around Super Bowls, or around Super Bowls, when we typically see things start ramping up a little bit.
For sure.
We'll see. I'm gonna knock on wood hard.
Knock on wood, brother.
Exactly.
But I do think that, you know, for the whole, I you know, anecdotally, so many clients, we're going to wait till the Fed drops. Or now that we're in the second half of the year, we're going to wait for the election.
Yep.
All right, now the election's happened. Now we're going to wait for the inauguration. Now we're going to wait till, you know, to see what this administration does. There's always something that you could theoretically be waiting for, and I think people are getting sick of waiting.
Yes,
you know,
I agree.
They waited for the last year, and all of their waiting and planning and just didn't work. And even in a more acute scenario or example is, I have people who have waited to lock, like they have a house under contract and they're like, maybe it's 60 days out or whatever, and they're like, we're going to wait to lock. I think rates are going to get better. Yeah. And everyone who's done that has been screwed.
That's the worst. That's like
and you
the
feel
worst.
bad for them, but you're like, it's your prerogative to wait and, you know, float the rate and see what happens. And if
now, is that them just kind of going rogue on you against like your advice? Like, I really think that you should lock now. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I never say, hey, this is what you should do. This is what I would do.
Right.
And because I could be wrong, you know.
Sure.
And I'm sure I have been wrong in the past, but I'm not a gambler. You might want to talk to Mike. He's more of a gambler, but I'm not a gambler. I don't like sitting around worrying about every day where the rate is. Like, if I'm comfortable with the rate today, where it is, and I'm comfortable with that monthly payment, for me, lock it in. I don't want to worry about it. You know. Right. Again, if it changes that dramatically in between now and 60 days from now when we settling, maybe we move the loan around and we, you know, get the better rate, or maybe we ask for the float down. If it doesn't move that dramatically, then I wasn't that worried about it in the first place. And then, you know, within the next year, 6 months, year or two, maybe I'll refinance. But like, I can't stress myself out about, you know, an eighth or a quarter over 60. I would be thinking about it every single day. Yeah. And my what I always tell people is like, are you going to be more excited about that rate drop, or are you going to be more pissed about the rate hike? Right. And inevitably, people are like, well,
what can you live with?
Oh yeah, I'll be more angry if it goes up. I'm like, well, then lock in.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
But I said I always just give people the facts. Cool. You don't have to lock. You have to lock like maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it's their decision in the end, right? All you can do is kind of give them the best advice and hope that they choose wisely.
Yeah. And hopefully they're right. You know, I hope I'm wrong if they wait.
Yeah,
you know, like
100%.
So
you'll be happy to be wrong in that case, right? Because then your client's got a better situation.
Yeah, I never want clients to get a worse. You know, even if it means I'm right, I don't want them to get a worse.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
It just kind of is what it is, and it's part of the gamble.
Yep.
So
sure.
But I all to say, like, I think people are kind of fed up with waiting.
I think so. I think people are starting to jump off the fence because it's just they've been waiting and they're tired of waiting. So like, let's just do this and.
I hope so. Be nice. So we'll see. But no, it feels that way. So
I'm excited about 2025.
It's gonna be a good year. going to be a great year, Rory. It's going to be a great year. Come on, Mike.
Yes.
Well,
Come on, Mike. We're going to drag you into it being a great year.
I mean, how was your, just, you don't have to give specific numbers. How was your 2024 compared to 2023?
2024 was better.
Yeah.
So I have just over the last several years kind of gotten
Your roles changed a little bit too, right?
roles changed. I mean, I was selling for many years. Then I took over a transaction manager role. You and I were on the phone all the time together.
Yeah. you and my dad.
Yes.
Rock five.
Love your dad. Absolutely, the best.
Shout out, man.
But yeah, so then kind of transitioned out of that role and back into selling. So, but just even the selling, also rehabbing homes as kind of another business. Gotten involved in some commercial investment properties, things like that. So, trying to kind of have multiple, streams of business. And
Diversify.
Exactly. Diversify in addition to the resale, type of business. So, but yeah, like, I don't know. I just feel, with the team we've got and, the lenders that we work with, I'm feeling okay about this year. I think we're going to be okay. I think it's, and again, part of it's just,
I just need more people to tell me that.
well, I think part of it is really weathering the storm.
Yeah.
Right. Because I mean, I got into the business in 2004, had like 3 great years. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden in September of, what was that? 08? 07, 08?
Yeah.
Yep.
Right down the toilet. Market melted. I mean, literally banks were locking doors, right? It was like, what's about to happen?
Did you have a
and those were some lean years,
were
but
you
it's
in that time frame that you like, did you ever have the thought like, shoot, I got to get out of this?
No.
I've
never had that thought. I've had worry, but I've never had that thought of I should start maybe looking for another career. I think what it was is, weathering that storm. Like, okay, business might not be great right now, but everything with real estate is always cyclical. It's going to come back. We're going to rebound. And then you saw obviously the government come in and start like just really pumping money and trying to help with, buyer grants and credits and all kinds of stuff. So I feel like it's, no matter how bleak things sometimes might seem, at least history shows us it's always going to bounce back. If you can kind of stem the tide and hang in there, it's going to come back and you're going to be fine.
And hopefully the good years outweigh the bad years.
Absolutely. Exactly.
Got a lot of outweighing to do right now. Got like 4 bad years under me right now. We'll get 4 good ones.
You're a unique situation too, because you just started as well, like when all the shit hit the fan. So it's like, you're kind of your situation's a vacuum.
Yeah.
A vacuum.
Yeah. That makes me feel good. Thanks.
Do you want to have another glass of rice?
Yeah, I'm going to keep drinking this.
I mean, our 2023s were bad, and then collectively our 2024s were better. And if you could just keep building on it, that's the goal.
Yeah. No, look. End of the day, I'm not worried. Not worried. Hold on. You guys keep yapping.
We're gonna keep yapping.
At 30 minutes,
I think part of that too is having years in the business. You've got that book of past clients. And,
yeah, exactly.
That you can kind of start to lean on a little bit, and when times are a little bit lean.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what his issue was. Everyone's like, "Oh, you came in at a perfect time," or "All these refis were happening. You must have cleaned up." He was like, "I didn't have a pipeline to pull from."
Right. Right.
So he was just helping with me and Tom and everyone else in the office and learning a lot, but he wasn't pulling his own business from past clients because he didn't have any.
Right.
And then it went to shit.
Yeah, it was a giant refi boom, and I was like, damn, if this was being a mortgage loan officer's like, I'm like, this is the greatest.
This is amazing.
I was like, I'll be a millionaire by 25. And then my dreams of having a Ferrari slowly crashed. And then,
for now.
Yeah, for now, for sure. But, it was like, super slow market in 22. And then I'm like, well, what's going on here? And then I'm like, 23 would be fine. And I'm like, 23 is awful. Look what's going on here.
24 will definitely be better.
24 will be better, which it was. It was better.
You hit your stride in 24.
Yeah. I definitely was a lot better, but still not like
where you want to be.
Not where we want to be. And I feel like for the amount of stuff, like for the amount of things Rory and I do, right, to draw business in a normal pre-COVID market, it might bring in double to triple the amount of deals it does now, because you have to like throw your net so much wider to capture similar business to keep it going. So I'm hopeful that when the market does turn around and we have a good year and a good market, and maybe it's a buyer's market then, not a seller's market or whatever it is, I'm hopeful that, we've been casting our nets so wide now that when that does happen, we have like such a good grasp on things. It just kind of, goes a good way for us. So.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
Quite honestly, like the more people we get in now while rates are higher, it's that many more people who are going to refi down the line. So it's like the longer we can kind of weather this.
And it was something like, there was some crazy statistic, like I don't remember the numbers exactly, so don't quote me, but it was 60 or 70% of loan officers.
I think it was in the 60s.
Yeah, have gotten out of the business in the past two years. So
not surprising, I guess.
It's just a war of attrition at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing the same thing in our roles, our local, board, national. There are a lot of people that are jumping out of the business.
Yeah, a lot of those people are doing the onesie twosies a year.
Yeah, I think probably a lot of your part timers, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
People in our business just trying to cash in on refi markets. They're they're not hanging around anymore.
No.
Yeah, no.
So
no.
I want to touch on, because I know you and Michael, and maybe even separately, you guys do your rehabs, renos, your investments.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that and how you got into that.
So that is one of those that I was analysis paralysis on, to use the the cliche, but for years I had wanted to do a rehab and blah blah blah, and I was just like, I'm in real estate, I should be doing this, and it was like one of those like, are the numbers right? Is this going to make money? Am I going to lose money? I really don't want to lose money, and do I have the contractors, and do I have to manage all this, and all these different things that run through your mind. So, so truth be told, the first flip that I ever bought was down in Prospect Park. I did it with Michael and his partner, Steve Masucci.
Yep.
So that was a property that I found on auction.com. It was already foreclosed, that type of thing. We won the auction, and it was one of those where, again, sight unseen. I went off the photos. If my wife ever watches this, I'm not sure if she even knows this story. So,
well, did it work out?
We went off the photos, and everything looked good, but we never physically walked the property. Like, we never went through it.
Yep.
So we close on the property, and Steve and I drive down to the house, and I've got the keys, and I'm standing at the door, and I'm about to put the key in the doorknob, and Steve's like,
"No.
So, how you feeling right now?" Like, we have no idea what we're really walking into.
Yeah.
Open the door, and thankfully it was as good as the photos, or I should say,
my God.
it was what the photos had advertised. It wasn't like, oh my God, this is so much worse.
Yeah. Great lead up to that story, because I was like, oh, this is not going to be good.
No. So it turned out to be okay, but it was kind of one of those. I had to get into the game. I had to get off the fence and buy something and just get into it.
Get your feet wet.
Get the feet wet. So thankfully, we bought it, we rehabbed it, we sold it. Like, it was, in a month, less, whatever.
Oh, wow.
And we made a profit, and we've been off and running since. And we've, either with partnerships or on my own. We've done some with some of our local contractors that we do a lot of business with. Thankfully, knock on wood to this day, everything we've done has been profitable. And like my wife likes to say, we have sold all of them. So it's not like we have this, stable of failed rehabs that, they look nice, but we were never able to actually sell them.
Yeah.
So, it's turned out really well. It's a nice side business. It's not obviously our main thing, but it's something that, helps pay the bills.
That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, if I put myself in your shoes, I imagine it was helpful to go in on the first one with Michael. And
it definitely was.
Steve
I don't know if I would have had the guts to really do it on my own.
Yeah.
I had basically identified the property and asked them. I said, look, here's what I'm looking to do. Would you guys want to partner up? And they knew, because they hadn't done that many themselves at that point, maybe like one or two, maybe three. So they were relatively new. So they were also looking to get involved in stuff. So it's just worked out great. And again, like at least with Steve and Michael, like we've done 2 or 3 together now over the years. So
and were you at that point in time, like did you have kids at that point in time? What was your situation like?
No kids, just one dog.
One dog?
One dog.
Cool.
Yeah.
Less overhead. These kids are free.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was like, less overhead.
Well, that's with him. He's got a couple, and I'm like, dude, do it now. Like, but your overhead's low, your nuts low, just
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
risk.
Like you were talking about, like being nervous, like if you didn't have somebody with you. Was that more of like a financial standpoint, or was it just like the knowledge of doing it?
I would say both.
Okay, yeah.
One, just because it was the first time doing it, writing that check all by yourself.
Yeah.
And it wasn't an expensive property. It was under $100,000 property, but still, it's like you
all
wrote
relative.
that check.
It's all relative.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money for your first one to put out all by yourself. So
Yeah.
it really was that. Plus, I knew that they had already done a couple.
Yeah.
So they kind of could help with the back end of the contractors and rehab portion of
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah, whereas I feel like I'm sometimes the opposite, where I'm like, I don't want anybody in on this with me, and I'll eat eggs and ramen until I die if I have to. Like, I just, whatever.
And you have been. You've been really on that or that ramen diet.
there you go.
recently.
There you go.
I love ramen, though. I just love ramen. Plus, I'm just
You just
trying to
love that
save money.
salt?
Yeah.
That
it's really,
sodium
so
is
the
so
high
good.
sodium. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
going to be great in about 30 years, but
He's really into MSG these days.
Yeah. Yeah.
got me there, brother.
Yeah. I mean, we've done all kinds though. We've done townhouse in Bluebell Country Club. We've done, I've been lucky enough to find multiple places around Conshohocken. I've been able to like literally either walk to or drive like 3 minutes to some of the rehabs that we've done, which has been nice. I mean, it's not all the time. We've done a couple single family homes, twins, row homes. So it's a whole smattering of stuff.
Now, do you have a rental portfolio as well, or no?
I do, but it's fairly minimal. It's actually, we have 2 commercial buildings.
Gotcha.
One in Delaware and one out in Chester County.
Nice.
With a couple partners. So yeah, those aren't like mine.
Like, yeah.
We have a couple
A little
partners
bit more
on that,
hands
but,
off on those.
a little bit. Yeah. So those are more hands off, but the idea of trying to build that portfolio though is definitely something that we want to do.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of those things where we've been doing the rehabs, and it's like like during COVID when the market just shot up. It's one of these houses that we sold, and then you see like the people that bought it from us sold it like 2 years later for like $50,000 more than we sold to them. Like,
Yeah.
you
you
should have
can
held
never
on.
look.
Should have held on to that thing. But
Yeah.
hindsight 2020. But
My buddy's dad always used to say, like, be happy with the penny you made, not the dollar you lost, or the dollar you didn't make, or something like that. Yeah. So, and I always thought about that whenever I do something in the similar fashion. I'm like,
yeah.
all right.
And I mean, the thing is I'm not the most seasoned investor by any stretch, but I mean, any investor that knows enough would say, I mean, you really make your money on the buy.
Yeah.
Right? Like you got to buy it right. I mean, I've absolutely looked at so many more properties and said no than said yes,
Yeah.
because they just don't make sense. And sometimes in these markets where the inventory is low, like you have investors that are like churning, like that's their main business where they're doing a lot of rehab. So it's like one of those things where it's like they need to keep their crews busy.
Right.
So it's like almost like I'm going to buy this property for probably too much, but I don't want to lose my contracting crew.
Yeah.
So I need to get them in and keep them busy so I don't lose them to somebody else or some other project. So they're
They're not making home runs on it.
They're not making home runs, and you don't always have to make a home run, but
Yeah.
and they can also do it like less expensively than maybe I can, right? Where I'm bringing in like subcontractors and
Onesie,
stuff like that. Exactly.
Well, that was the other thing that I was saying. Like, not only mentally and financially partnering with someone is helpful, but having those resources. And it sounds like you guys have a pretty good crew of people that you can trust, contractor wise.
And I think part of that is just the amount of years we've been in the real estate business has, we've accrued those people, in our relationships that, okay, now that we're doing the rehabs, we can lean on them to, be resources for us, which is great.
Half the battle is having a trustworthy contractor who's going to show up and do the right
100%.
job and,
100%.
for the right price.
Oh yeah, you hear all the horror stories. Oh, I paid my contractor $7,000 and I never saw him again.
Yeah.
I mean, that stuff happens all the time. People think like, oh, that's just made up. Like, no, that happens a lot.
Yep.
Yeah.
More than people would think. One of my buddies who's a realtor down at the shore, we'd love to do some projects, not on the islands, but offshore. It's just like, he's having a hard time finding like good solid contractors to be able to depend on to do these properties. He's like, I have opportunities that kind of come up. He's like, I just don't really have anybody to do the work.
Yeah, exactly. Now you're sitting on a house
so
that needs to be rehabbed.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
on that topic, if anybody's looking for a 3-bed, 2-bath in Conshohocken, there's one coming up in a couple months. So,
Oh, really? No.
Yeah.
Maybe you're talking to him. No, I'm joking. Probably. Can't afford it right
I'll
now,
keep you
but-
posted.
Yeah, keep me
We're
posted.
supposed to start in a week or two. So.
Yeah, if business picks up, we'll talk. But that's great.
Nice.
So yeah, I don't know. You want to touch on anything else or?
No, I think we're ready for a win. Did Mike tell you about the win?
Nope.
What's the
No,
win?
Come on, Mike, you're falling
Come on, Mike.
We at the end of each
Yeah.
podcast we try to do a win. Like just something that you're psyched about, something that you're proud of, something that was a good thing that happened to you, whether it's, family-wise, personal, professional, whatever. So I can go first.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Go for it.
But don't listen. I'm just buying you some time to think about your own.
Oh, okay.
And
all right. I'll be thinking.
Think about a win too, Mike.
Okay.
No, I think we kind of touched on it earlier, but the first week of January was just like dead, quiet. And then all of a sudden, the second and now the third week of January is just like all of a sudden, pre-qual. It just seems like there's more activity going on. And some of those pre-quals and pre-approvals are coming from realtors who I've really been trying to like earn business from over the past, year or two. So like seeing those things kind of come to fruition feels good, not only because, you put the work in and you get some referrals, but also because it's actual business and it's, picking up. So that's my win for this week.
Yeah.
Very good.
Oh yeah.
Very
Michael?
good.
My win would be having a good weekend. I don't know.
With all that Guinness?
Yeah. No, I mean, we had a fundraiser for my rugby team that went well. It was a fun time, and then Sunday just like hung out. I think my win would be I'm just trying to take this month with a grain of salt and enjoy it while it's slow and stay positive. It's
Go
hard
Birds.
to do, but yeah, go Birds.
Go Birds.
Better
Go
win
Birds.
the Super Bowl. I
Got to
swear
throw
God.
that in there.
That is
I
a big
just-
win. That was a big win.
Heck yeah.
I just threw some money on a Super Bowl win from the Birds.
Ooh, there you go.
Go Birds.
That'll be for a
real.
future episode that
Go
you can
Birds
talk
for
about
real.
that.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah, we were
Yes.
talking about gambling earlier. I do like gambling too much. So
Well, the Eagles win was certainly a win for all of us,
sure.
right? I think probably, at least most recently, my win would be, and we talked about it a little bit earlier. You just never know when things are going to come your way.
yep.
And, having been in the business as long as I have been, sometimes, again, just out of the blue, people come your way. So literally within the last probably like 5-7 days, I've gotten 2 referrals from past clients.
Nice.
And another past client who moved to Kentucky, unbeknownst to me, has now moved back and is looking to buy something. So he called me the other day. I was just like, man, when it rains, it pours.
Yeah,
it's
nice.
it's crazy. So that would be my win right now is kind of 3 new potential, clients.
And the feel good of
And of course, I'll have them, talking
thank
to you guys. So,
Yeah.
and the feel good of having past clients trust you and refer you business. That's
100%.
such a
I mean,
nice feeling.
100%. I mean, the one is former Villanova guy that I used to work with. And
Wow. Yeah.
I've sold one of his properties. I've sold his son a property. I've sold his mom's house. I sold her another house when she was downsizing. It's like that type of stuff. You develop those relationships with past clients, and all of a sudden it's like, you're a member of the family. Like they just refer you everybody that they are related to,
Yeah.
which is nice.
That's great.
Yeah.
Such a nice part of the syndrome when you do a good job and you do it the right way and you treat people like family.
And people recognize it.
It just grows exponentially.
For sure.
So,
Yep.
and then, any bad market can't really suppress that too much. It's like,
Nope.
building that base of past clients. So,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
all right.
Well, cheers to
I
that.
think we did it, guys.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Our
Good
first
luck with the
podcast
rest of your
three
January.
different drinks.
we
We're
go.
almost there.
Almost
Cheers.
there. You only got another week and a half.
Yeah.
All right.
It's the 21st today, technically.
Best of
I mean, it's Friday.
No, what is that?
Happy Friday.
Cheers.
Happy Friday.
Down to their knees and make do up. Popsicle sticks race down the curb into the sewer.